and I will show you exactly the areas that we must be concerned about. But it is Mumbai itself which is bracing in a way for the first ever cyclonic storm expected to hit the city tomorrow in more than a century. Cyclone Nisarga is expected to make a landfall in the Alibag area, which is about 90 kilometers away, with a wind speed of about 120 kilometers per hour. A red alert has been sounded across the coastal areas of Maharashtra with the NDRF teams deployed. Now all of this comes in the middle of Mumbai's COVID fight. So the city is fighting on two fronts. Take a look.
Days after Cyclone Amphan tore through West Bengal, ravaging everything in its path, another cyclone is fastly approaching India, this time on the western coast, and will hit Maharashtra and Gujarat. Nisarga is expected to make landfall Wednesday afternoon close to Alibag in Raigad district of Maharashtra.
As the situation stands, the NDRF is deployed in both the states. 10 teams are in Maharashtra and 11 teams as of now are in Gujarat. But as we speak, Gujarat has asked for 5 more teams.
Mumbai, Thane, Palghar and Raigad districts in Maharashtra are on high alert. The Palghar district administration has advised people on necessary safety precautions, but fear is palpable.
पहली बार ही हो रहा है इधर, कभी हुआ नहीं था, तो मन में थोड़ा डर है. प्रशासन आए थे इधर, पूरा जानकारी दी हमको और पूरा अपना घर खाली करने के लिए बोला है.
अभी डर तो बहुत है क्योंकि ऐसा तूफान हमने पहले तो कभी देखा नहीं, लेकिन प्रशासन के जो लोग हैं उन्होंने हमें बहुत राहत दिखाई.
Rains lashed Mumbai, which will be witnessing its first severe cyclone in many decades.
As the meteorological department is continuously studying this deep depression, the authorities in Mumbai and the various coastal regions have already started preparing. In Mumbai, there are many trees because the cyclone, if it comes and hits Mumbai, it will come at a high speed with a lot of wind, a lot of rain. So a lot of preparations for that have been put in place. Any loose, fittings in residential areas, offices, all that have been fixed.
NDRF teams are on standby to respond to any eventuality. The Indian Coast Guard ships, aircraft and shore stations along the western seaboard have warned merchant vessels and fishermen about the adverse weather conditions, urging them to return. Arrangements are being made to shift as many as 150 COVID patients from MMRDA facility at Bandra Kurla complex to another facility in Worli.
Even though the structural engineers are putting sandbags at various places so that the structure remains intact, the state government and MMRDA feels that they would not want to take any chances at this point of time. Hence, in an important development, it has been decided that all the patients who are being treated here will now be shifted to a safer place.
Wind speed is likely to be lower in coastal Gujarat. Several parts of the states have already started receiving rains. Bureau Report, India Today.
So how prepared is Mumbai for Cyclone Nisarga? Remember, there hasn't been a cyclone that's hit the city of this intensity for the last 129 years, the last one in 1881. I'm joined by Dr. Anshu Sharma, co-founder Seeds, an organization that looks closely at natural disasters and suggests ways of combating it. Jatin Singh, founder and MD of Skymet Weather Services, is joining me. Appreciate both of you joining us. Before I come to you, I just want you to listen to what Amitav Ghosh, the author and climate change activist that he's now become, celebrated author, told me just a week ago in the context of Cyclone Amphan, and warned that Mumbai could be next. Listen in to Amitav Ghosh. And I also read an interview of yours, Mr. Ghosh, where you said that, look, it's happened, Professor, on the East Coast this time, but it could well happen tomorrow even on the West Coast. That's equally vulnerable. I read somewhere where you said, God forbid if it happens in a Mumbai tomorrow.
Well, I wrote about that in my book, The Great Derangement.
That's right.
One of the predicted consequences of climate change is that cyclonic activity will increase in the Arabian Sea. And, there was less cyclonic activity in the Arabian Sea for half the 19th century and most of the 20th century. But that's a historical anomaly. You know, between the mid 17th century and the mid 19th century, Mumbai has been directly hit by cyclones, by at least 5 major cyclones. So, and the possibility absolutely exists. As we speak now, there are 2 cyclones brewing at the same time in the Arabian Sea. And one of those may actually make landfall, on the west coast. We don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty. I don't want to get anyone panicked. But, there is that possibility. So, on the East Coast, one of the great things that's happened over the last 20 years is that because the East Coast has historically been hit by a lot of cyclones, people have begun to prepare and people have become very good at evacuation processes and so on. Especially Odisha, under Naveen Patnaik, he's become really a great sort of handler of these crises. So, there's a mechanism in place. On the West Coast, there isn't, because there's a historic complacency about cyclones. People think that cyclones will only hit the East Coast. And actually, in the case of Calcutta this time, I was astonished to find, I wrote to many people warning them about the cyclone, but many people paid no attention. Many people in Calcutta feel that, cyclone will hit Odisha or they'll hit Bangladesh. They just weren't prepared to be directly hit by a major cyclone. And it was very wrong to have that kind of complacency. So I would say to my friends in Mumbai, please think about these hazards. Don't panic, but think about these hazards and put in place, evacuation procedures and so on, because Mumbai is a city of over 20 million people. How are you going to evacuate Mumbai?
So how prepared is Mumbai at the moment? Dr. Anshu Sharma, co-founder, Jatin Singh of Skymet still with us. Jatin, first let me get from you a sense from a weatherman's perspective, Skymet Weather. What's your sense? How intense is this cyclone likely to be? Is Mumbai likely to also face a brunt of it? Or will the landfall be confined to the Gujarat coast and possibly to Alibag?
You see, the latest model outputs that have come from what was available yesterday, the landfall seemed to be within a 50-kilometer radius of Mumbai. But the latest output that came a couple of hours ago is clearly showing that seems to be more south of Mumbai. That's why Alibag is coming up. So in that sense, I think, things are probably not as bad as they could be. But please try to understand, as Mr. Ghosh was saying, that, the problem when we're dealing with Mumbai is, of course, there's a meteorological aspect to it. The cyclone Amphan was much more powerful. It was Cat 5, super cyclone, winds going to 180 kilometers. But in Mumbai, there are basically 2 issues. One, it doesn't happen that often. So basically, people on the West Coast don't expect cyclones and neither does the administration at the center, state, and the district administration understand that evacuation needs to be done, how warnings are to be done, and what kind of construction is there, because we prepare for cyclones over a generation. And the other is anthropogenic. We have very high, dense populations. I mean, you're looking at from Valsad, you've got Ankleshwar, you've got these big industrial towns, Surat, Mumbai, all the way going down, large concentrations of people, poor people living in low-lying areas. And we've got, I think, 10 or 15 NDRF teams that have been deployed. That is some 600 people. I don't see, plus the red alert was given too late. It was given only yesterday. And we could see this coming a week in advance. And there was this sense that was going to come. And if you can track all my tweets over the last week. So I think that, yes, this is less damaging in Amphan. Yes, we are not used to it, but we might undergo damage because we did not heed to the warnings that were already there.
Okay, those are important words of caution that you're putting in place, and that is the worry on the West Coast, isn't it, Dr. Anshu Sharma, that the West Coast is not used to cyclones, possibly even of this intensity, hitting it. So to that extent, is Mumbai extremely vulnerable given the lack of preparation possibly?
Rajdeep, the lack of preparation is one dimension, but the way we are seeing things unfold, this would make for a textbook case of what we call complex disasters, which we are not very used to, but this one throws up a war on many fronts, not just two. So if you just look at the COVID context, there's evacuations taking place at a huge scale, and how do you evacuate people and shelter them with physical distancing, measures being followed? At the same time, there are existing COVID hospitals, isolation centers, quarantine centers in the path of the cyclone where we can't afford to lose power, water, and other facilities. And that's a likelihood. So there's a huge complexity within the COVID scenario. In addition, I feel it's a little unfair to compare Amphan with Nisarga. Wind speeds and, of course, people are not used to it as a dimension. But, we often just compare wind speeds, and that's an unfair comparison.
Right.
In fact, wind is a lesser problem in certain respects when we lose lives and people. Bear in mind that most of the deaths in cyclones are drowning deaths. So water is actually a great destroyer, sometimes and often greater than wind. So I would worry more about storm surges and flash floods, and these are dependent lesser on the wind speeds and more on the lay of the land.
I just want to also check.
So we can't compare two cyclones unless
we won't compare them, but I want
what kind of a
I want to ask you one more question. A number of cooperative societies in Mumbai have issued instructions to their members, to the residents, make sure that you pull off all your plug points, worry about possible electricity connections getting disrupted. Is that a real fear during a cyclone in Mumbai tomorrow?
So it is. In fact, this is going to be a long night, Rajdeep. The people in the path need to do a lot of preparations tonight, and no emergency agency can reach out to the millions of families that are out there. The issue of unplugging devices is very true in case of a thunderstorm that is going on outside, because we are talking about lightning strikes and security from that. But there's a lot more that we need to worry out, which can span over the next few days. I think people need to charge their phones and their battery packs. They need to store drinking water. Bear in mind, just from last year's experience of Cyclone Fani in Orissa, the city of Puri was without water for a month, because when the electricity lines go down, the water pumping stations don't work. And that's the layers of complexity.
Okay, let me also for a moment go back to you there, Jatin Singh. Jatin, what's your sense therefore? On a scale of 10, how likely is it that the cyclone will cause some amount of damage across parts of Mumbai possibly, and certainly along the west coast?
6, mostly on account of mismanagement.
6. So 6 out of 10 you believe that there will be some element of damage, because there are times when cyclones do blow over. Are you saying this is almost certain in a way to hit this space of about 50 to 80 kilometers between Daman on one side and Mumbai on the other?
Rajdeep, 42% of Mumbaikars live in slums. I mean, you cannot ignore that fact. You go to Bandra, BKC, and there is a large drain. People live on the drain. We are not counting these people. Where will they go? When there is a sea surge coming in, and there is high tide, and there is wind, and you're dealing with COVID, and you're in Dharavi, and your house is made of bamboo and tarpaulin, and there are hoardings. These are the forgotten people. What are they going to do?
Okay.
That is what I meant. How will 10 NDRF teams deal with millions and millions of people?
Okay. Point taken. I appreciate both of you joining us. We'll, of course, keep tracking this with you. And thank you so much for giving us a sense to our viewers why this is such a big story at the moment. We've had the most terrible times. Last week, Cyclone Amphan hitting the east coast and causing a lot of destruction in Bengal in particular. Let's hope that the next 24 hours are easier for the people of Gujarat and Maharashtra. Thank you both very much for joining me here on the news today.
Hi everyone, Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.